Stand right here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us as we do our daily briefing. I wanted to first tell you that I'm joined today by staff from the One More Child. This is a group that rescues victims of human trafficking. In fact, they're going to talk with you in just a minute. But I wanted to let you know who was here with us today. And these are some of our heroes that are working really, really hard. And that's what this is. It's a human trafficking operation where our focus is to find victims of human trafficking. During this operation, we made 103 arrests. Not only did we make 103 arrests, one of the arrests we made was of a person, and we'll talk about him in more detail in a minute, that came to have sex with a child. So he was a sexual predator, a child sexual predator. We have a warrant. We have one person at large we want you to help us find today. He also traveled. He was a child sexual predator and thought he was coming to have sex with a child. During this operation, our detectives, which are simply the very best in the business, filed 44 felony charges and 130 misdemeanor charges. The people we've arrested here today, and you see them on the wall, have previously collected 368 felony charges and 483 misdemeanor charges. Now, a couple of them have never been arrested at all, which means the others even had more arrests. 9 of these folks told us that they were married. I know their spouses were really excited to know that they ended up in jail wanting to have sex with someone else. 8 of them are on public assistance. 3 of them are in the United States illegally committing crimes. We also were joined by DCF, Department of Children and Families. What we do with these human trafficking operations is we want to begin the step of what we call wraparound services. When we arrest people and put them in jail, that could be the end of everything other than the criminal justice operation. But that's not what this is about. We want to make sure that we do everything we can to identify the victims of human trafficking so that we can rescue them. And we can't do it as law enforcement officers on our own. We are simply short-term problem solvers. But these ladies are long-term problem solvers for us. I can tell you that we will do everything we can to protect victims of human trafficking, to rescue victims of human trafficking. We'll do everything in our power to rescue and protect our child victims from sexual predators who are online, and we saw that as well, as I just spoke about. We had suspects this time that traveled from all over Florida, as well as Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, and Mississippi. We seized guns and heroin, dope. We saw people that were here that had previous murder charges and attempted murder charges, robbery charges. We had one victim shooting up heroin. They overdosed and we had to rush them to the hospital. We see people here with burglary and theft histories. But at the end of the day, this was tough. It was a tough operation. And one of the reasons it was a tough operation to carry forward was Backpage no longer exists. So the prostitutes have scattered to other social medias. The FBI successfully closed down Backpage, and we appreciate that a lot. But here's what we found. When they scattered to the other social medias, it was harder for them. So this time, some of the prostitutes told us it's more difficult for us to connect to the Johns, so we ended up with a higher percentage of prostitutes this time than we usually do. But we didn't arrest, even though we arrested 103, we still didn't arrest as many as we have in some past operations. And you say, well, why is that? Well, here's what one prostitute said. Well, please be careful. Any girl that'll go to Polk County is desperate or stupid. If you go to see a girl at her place, make sure you ask Google what county it's in. Make sure it's not Polk. Sheriff Grady will be waiting for you. That was from a prostitute we think was from the Orlando area. But she gave good advice. Only they didn't pay any attention. So keep marketing for us. Our detectives scooped up 103 people. Now, I want to give you some of our, what I call, poster children. You know, there's always some involved in the group that stand out for one reason or another. Well, Edwin Lopez, he's 26 years of age, and on December 9th, it will be his birthday. He'll be 27, so I want to give a shout out to Edwin. Happy birthday. Everyone needs to know that Operation Naughty Not Nice #2, we picked up a fella, and we want Edwin to understand this is our birthday gift to him, a nice arrest. He traveled to meet a minor. She was 14 years of age, he thought. We also charged him with illegal use of two-way communications and attempted lewd battery. He just wanted to teach this child how to have sex. Oh, by the way, he told us that he was a warehouse supervisor for UPS, and we believed him because he was wearing his UPS shirt when he arrived. Well, when we took him to county jail, we did not take him via UPS, but we did take UPS to the jail that day. Edwin Lopez spent some time with us until he bonded out. Then there's William Welch. This is the guy we need you to help us catch. William Welch has a warrant outstanding for him now for traveling to meet a 14-year-old child to have sex. Obviously a violation of two-way communications and attempted lewd battery and soliciting a child. There's a no bond warrant for him. We know from his conduct that he's known as a groomer. He spent a great deal of time talking to our undercover people, thinking that she was a child. And here's what we know about him. He actually came to the neighborhood. We saw him. The whole time that he was in the neighborhood and our surveillance teams were watching, he was telling how he was on his way from Orlando. But he never came to the house. We saw him park. He was doing counter surveillance. When it was evident that he was not going to come to the house, we sent the surveillance teams to arrest him. When they arrived at his vehicle, he was out on foot. So now he was out on foot in the neighborhood, still chatting, not telling what he thought to be the 14-year-old our undercover he was in the area. Of course, we did our best to find him at night in the neighborhood, but he was able to escape us in the dark. We have his vehicle. William, if you want to see your vehicle, you can turn yourself in. We know that he at least said he was in restaurant management. We know he has ties to South Carolina and Colorado and Sumter County, Florida, and we plan to give him one more tie to Bartow, Florida, in the county jail just as soon as we find him and can arrest him. So if you can help us do that, we would appreciate it. And for those in the community, if you know a William, remember there's Crime Stoppers, 1-800-226-TIPS. All you have to do is tell us where to find this rascal. You don't have to get involved, you don't have to testify, and we'll give you a lot of green cash just in time for Christmas so you can buy your favorite friends Christmas presents while we put a child sexual predator in prison. And then there's Anthony Camacho. He's 23. His birthday's on December the 10th. We'll give a shout out to him. Happy birthday. Our treat to him is the county jail, and that's where he is today. He's charged with human trafficking, a first-degree felony. That is a 30-year possible sentence. He was also charged with possession of marijuana. And here's what he did. He brought a 17-year-old child to the operation to prostitute her. And he had taken her to other locations to prostitute her as well. She was a runaway from Virginia. So we have recovered her, and we are making sure that she gets services because we absolutely know she's a victim of human trafficking. If we didn't do anything else in this operation but arrest the one child sexual predator, get a warrant for the second one, and save this young lady who's 17 from this human trafficker, it would have been a total success. If we not arrested the other 100 and just got these 3, that would have been a successful operation. We're excited. She referred to him, our victim of human trafficking, referred to Anthony as King. Well, we threw a bunch of aces on old King, and now he's in the county jail. And we're going to do our best to send him to state prison. He's got a violent criminal history to include kidnapping and attempted murder arrest. This is a bad man. And he was prostituting and trafficking a child. And I can tell you that we're going to do our very best for him to go to prison to protect other children from him. And my colleagues here are going to do our best to rescue this 17-year-old. And when she goes back to Virginia, then they will hand her off to social services and support there. And then being from Polk County, I don't know how to say this guy's name very well, but it's something like Sorat Sabharwal. But you may recognize him if you're from the Orlando area, especially if you're a veteran, because he does robotic surgery and urologic oncology. He's a medical doctor. He works for the Lake Nona VA Hospital in Orlando, and he also works at other hospitals and does surgery. He came there seeking the services of a prostitute. This dude was so excited to get there, he was still wearing his hospital scrubs when he arrived. Well, we didn't think he would look as good in hospital scrubs as he would orange scrubs that we hand out at the jail, so we changed the color of his clothes for this photograph. So Dr. Sabharwal is arrested, will be facing charges, and my prescription to him is don't do this anymore. Take 2 aspirin, hold them between your knees, and behave, okay? And I didn't have to go to medical school to figure that out. And then there's old Wallace Shepard. He's 42. Wallace came to us all the way from Jacksonville. He's a recruiter and a petty officer first class in the reserves of the Navy. He traveled to have sex with a prostitute. Here's something I don't understand. Maybe the Navy can help me out. I thought they kind of threw you out of the military for a criminal history, but we saw where this guy's got previous burglary arrests, theft arrests, possession of cocaine with intent to sell, 7 criminal charges in the past, felony charges, some of them, and 1 FTA. And now Wallace has got a Christmas present from the detectives of the sheriff's office, and that's another criminal charge. We've notified the military, and I think they are marching around right now to see what they can do with him. This is Ralph Myers. Ralph is 76 years old, and I bring him to your attention because he's from Lake Alfred. Now, people in Polk County ought to know better by now, and most of them do. Of the 103 arrests and the one we charged that's not in custody, which make 104, only 9 were from Polk County. His first arrest for trying to pick up a prostitute was in 1964, 54 years ago. He then was arrested in 1991, and he bragged to our detectives that in Indiana, he picked a prostitute up this year, but he said, I didn't get caught that time. He showed up with his oxygen in tow. Did you hear me? He's wearing his nasal cannula for his oxygen. I guess he figured he was going to be exercised. He needed all the oxygen he could get. Well, he had a good attitude. As we got ready to haul him away with his criminal charge, he said, do you think that the undercover lady will at least grope me before I go to jail? No, I don't think so. But I can tell you this, we're going to put you down in the county jail, and much to our chagrin, there's probably somebody that'll grope you down there. And then there's Sirham Aswath something or another. You got to look at this dude's name. I didn't realize they used almost every word in the alphabet, and some of them they had to use more than once. They told me how to pronounce this phonetically, but it wasn't all fit on this card. Anyway, he's an IT consultant for NTT Data. He's here from Texas. He came to Orlando. I don't know if his wife came with him. He's married. And while he was at the convention, he thought he'd have an evening off and enjoy it with a prostitute. Well, Saram, I don't know how happy your wife is. I don't know how happy NTT Data is. But my undercover that arrested you is pretty happy that you went to jail. And then there's David Brunson. He works for Perkin Elmer Engineering Firm. That's right, he's an engineer, and they deal with medical and diagnostic equipment. He's married. He's from Atlanta. Now, listen, what I'm about to tell you, you can't make this stuff up, okay? He was in Orlando for his brother-in-law's funeral. Did you hear me? He was here for his brother-in-law's funeral when he decided, well, heck, I'll just go out and have sex with a prostitute tonight. I'm certain that he left his wife in Orlando grieving when he went out and did this misdeed for the evening. What a way to treat your wife and the family during such a terrible time of life. And then there's Jeffrey Tacey. Jeffrey's a BYU student. Disney has a program whereby you can apply, come to work for Disney, and whatever your discipline is, they will work with you and you actually get college credit. He is from Dawsonville, Georgia, working with Disney because Disney was gracious enough to allow him to be in their college program, and he showed Disney how much he appreciated that by, while wearing the Disney banner, as a employee and a program student with them, he had sex with a prostitute. And he told us he's learned a valuable lesson. I can see where he would. I don't know what his mom and daddy thinks about that. As I understand, they're very religious folks. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just kind of a cross section. Every one of these folks have a history. With the exception of just a few, every one of them have been in trouble before. Some of them have proven to be very, very dangerous people. And the ones that are blacked out are the ones that we clearly believe are victims of human trafficking. If we determine that any of these others happen to be victims of human trafficking, and we screened every one of them, then we can go back. We've got this great Florida law that once we work through the process, we can take away all evidence of them ever being arrested because, in fact, at that time, they're not a suspect, but in fact, they are a victim of human trafficking. Before we take any questions, if you have any, I want to introduce you to Krista Hicks, who's going to speak to you for just a minute about One More Child and their work on behalf of this team. Krista?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Krista Hicks, Executive Director with One More Child Anti-Trafficking. And One More Child is extremely grateful to be invited to participate in this operation with Polk County Sheriff's Office. I'm here with some of our team members from the Open Doors Outreach Network. And we work tirelessly between our Open Doors Outreach Network services and our Safe Home for Minor Girls. We work day in and day out to provide services to the women and children and young adults and teenagers who've been victimized this horrendous way. We are grateful. We know that there's a lot of work to be done, but to be able to be there and participate and offer the services that are available to work to stop the process and the cycle that is so common to sexually exploited persons. Being a trafficking victim myself and knowing what it's like to go in and out of the cycles that are so common to us, to be able to sit in that room where the investigation is happening and then afterwards where the holding and talk with the women and a couple of younger people and share with them that there is hope, there is a way out. And even more beautifully, I was personally able to witness some law enforcement officers stepping into those conversations, and I saw the just sincerity in their eyes. I saw the care, and when they spoke, they weren't speaking happy that they were criminalizing women that we can guess are coming out of a lot of childhood problems and many of them having been sexually exploited and trafficked before this. You saw that they actually want to see this process stop. They wanted to see services offered. And I left knowing that we're part of a great community. I left knowing that we all have a lot of work to do, but this partnership together makes it possible. This partnership together helps us to stop these cycles. And we do ask when Sheriff Judd says to reach out and call and get the traffickers off the street, get the buyers off the street. We do need your help. We also just thank you again. We thank you that we get to work to provide these services in this community, and we're just extremely grateful to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have any questions of Krista or of me?
This is kind of a two-part question. But first, what was your reaction when you saw the quote that you held up and you first saw it?
Well, it made me smile. Do you know our marketing is working? The message is always clear. If you want to go to jail for this kind of horrible conduct, just come on back to Polk County, because my detectives, who are simply the very best, are already planning our next operation. And we'll put you in jail before quick.
That was my next question. I mean, you guys have done something like this several times. It gets a lot of coverage. Are you ever surprised that just, despite all of that, it just people keep coming here and doing this?
Well, you know, it's not an original quote, but I can remember the statements made that there's a fool born every day. Well, there's a fool that comes to Polk County just eager to go to the county jail. We call it Grady Town. And there's room at Grady Town for all of the criminals that want to show up. And my detectives are just waiting to investigate you and arrest you. So, I mean, I appreciate this, but here's the bottom line. This is, without a doubt, one of the lowest crime counties in the state, and certainly the state's one of the lowest crime states in the nation. So if you want to go to jail, just show up at our next operations. I mean, they all got to go to jail before they heard jingle bells this year. And it's my Christmas present to all of them. Merry Christmas. If you stay long enough with us, we'll give you pressed turkey on Christmas Day, and the choice is yours. Either behave or come to the county jail, or listen to your colleagues and stay out of Polk County. Obviously, I don't want to market for the social apps, but whenever Backpage went away, and the FBI did a wonderful job shutting that down, it was just like scattering ants. Now we've had to look on a lot of different websites. And the prostitutes themselves told us that they, too, were having trouble because people were now having to find out what social media sites that they were on, and they were having to work different sites. Well, it shouldn't come as any comfort to others who are opening up such sites, because we at the local level or the state level or certainly the federal level will be investigating you to not only close your site down but lock you up as well. It is against the law. You know, I've got this very basic philosophy. If you don't want to go to jail, obey the law. If you don't want to go to jail, obey the law. Otherwise, you're telling us and broadcasting to us that you really want to go to jail, and we're going to help you get there. Anything else? He's the only one charged with human trafficking right now, and his was abundantly clear to us. Sir? Do we have other people charged?
That might be suspects.
Certainly any of the people that drove the people here, we suspect, but we haven't gotten the evidence together, or we would have charged human trafficking. You want to say something, Chris?
Absolutely, thank you. You know, it's very difficult to assess for human trafficking in that moment. We often, as survivors, have grown up in this life where we have many trauma-bonded relationships, and it takes a lengthy amount of time to assess for that. We, as our team, got to sit with many of the women, and under the age of 18, it's trafficking, that hands down. Over the age of 18 and sitting with many of the women, our team saw many red flags. You know, in that moment, they're not going to come clean with everything, but they discussed things with us, like growing up in the life and having mothers who also had traffickers over them, and having been on the streets and seen the cycle. And so I know myself in the night we participated in the team, it was woman after woman that we knew, yes, here as an adult being charged with prostitution, but like Sheriff Judd very compassionately said, they want to know, is there more to this? Our team, we will continue working with Polk County Sheriff's Office to assess that and to get better and better at assessing as quick as possible, so that there's less of the cycle as they are charged. We love all.
You want to
Absolutely,
address
sure.
that?
Thank you. Thank you.
I brought the subject matter expert.
That's awesome.
I can give you the textbook answer, but
And you know, there's not much of a difference now to girls in the United States, domestic victims of sex trafficking who've grown up on the streets, and we've you know, seen and pimps our whole life. The terms too, in their world, they want it to be separated, because like myself, I was 20 years out before I saw that boyfriend has a trafficker. It takes a lot, and so you will hear trafficking victims not self-identify, and they will say, no, he's my pimp, or even he's my boyfriend. But what we know by the federal definition is that when force, fraud, or coercion are present, which they are a lot of the time, then he can call himself whatever he wants. He's a human sex trafficker by the federal definition in the United States of America, and needs to be criminally charged the most severe way possible.
it wasn't that much more eloquent than me.
You would have done awesome.
Anything else? Thank y'all for being with us today, and stay tuned. There'll be Naughty Not Nice number 3. See y'all later. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Let's get some pictures.
Okay,
You want to?
wonderful.
You want to get it over in front of that, or over in front of the flags, or where do you want to
let's
do
get it in front.
Around the podium. Everybody get in. Just everybody. Come on.
I'm little.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sheriff Judd.
Get in.
Where are we looking first? Here.
Okay, Robin, can you get some pictures for us? Got it? Need any others? Need any with any cell phones or anything that y'all have?
Yeah, we'll take.
Oh, that would be good. We'll let Brittany.
We can, or you can get it off of,
Brittany, do you mind giving her your cell? Or here, I can
Robin.
give mine.
Thank you so much.
but we can wait. No, I need to pick it off. There it goes for YouTube. But